to call the room to order. Hello, good evening, and welcome. Welcome back if it's the first time you've been back. And welcome to the new councillors as well, to the LEC committee. Just a couple of bit of housekeeping to go through. Fire exit, top of the stairs there, depending on where the fire is. If the fire is there, don't go out that way, go out that way the same way as you came in, alright? Can I ask you to make sure that all of your phones are turned off? If anybody's phone goes off in their meeting, there's an unwritten rule that you pay £10 to the chairman's charity. Alright, that starts tonight. So phones off, please. At the end of the meeting... Order. At the end of the meeting, can I ask that you leave the building the same way you came in so that we can account that everybody has left the meeting, but otherwise the meeting has now begun. Sherry, have we got any apologies for absence, please?
Yes, we have apologies from Councillor Stephen King and Councillor Stephen Cox's substitute. Councillor Roger Seaborn is unable to make it. Councillor Ruth Clark is substitute. Councillor Paula Hiscox with Councillor Alex Hayward as substitute, and Councillor Alex Michaels has sent his apologies as well.
Lovely, thank you very much. I can't actually see Councillor Hayward. There's so many sheets of glass between us. It's sort of...
I'm looking the same.
The minutes of the last meeting can we pass those? Has anybody got any comments to make on those? Are we happy for those to go through? Councillor Lloyd.
I thought there was something that Councillor Seaborn had sent in. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
If you'd like to read it.
That's all right, absolutely. I'm just sort of hoping that when he sent something in, it'll be tea and biscuits. Just waiting for Ms. Walton to get that up on screen, and then she will deliver the speech. Whilst we're doing that, can we skip on and just do the minutes actually, just then we'll come back so that we're not waiting. So are the minutes for the previous meeting okay with everyone? Can we get those signed off if that's...
Apart from that one change from...
Apart from the one change, oh that, right, okay. Has anyone got any other business this evening before we go back to the minutes? No? Anyone have any declarations of interest? No? We'll skip forward from the minutes for a moment and come back to them and move on to the budget monitoring for period 10. Who's going to be... Have I skipped a bit? Tree strategy. It's you, Alex. Sorry, Mr. Laurie.
Thank you, Chair. So yeah, this is the presentation of the draft tree strategy for the council, which is a new document which sets out the council approach to management of trees in the district, and it also identifies a number of actions for the council to achieve over the next 5 years. So the process that we've been following, we had an initial briefing document in March asking for comments and views on what should be in the strategy. We've had a period of producing the draft strategy, and we're now at the stage of presenting it to the Leisure and Environment Committee. It's previously been to Policy and Resources as well. Following travelling through those committees, we're proposing it should have a period of public consultation during August and September before making any final edits to the document, and then the final version would be presented to the Leisure Committee on 24th of November and the Policy and Resources on 6th of December, with the aim of publishing the new strategy in the new year. So the strategy has sort of four main areas it covers, which is the management of the district council's trees, the council's responsibility regarding protected trees, the trees and the planning process and the council's responsibility as a local planning authority, and other trees in the district which are owned and maintained by third parties and the council's involvement in those issues. So the other recommendation is that the draft strategy be approved and goes on to a period of public consultation so that other stakeholders and the general public can view it and comment on it. And again, any of those comments can be taken in consideration before we produce the final version. So the P&R Committee on the 14th of June we presented the report. We had a number of questions were raised. I can go through those, Chair, if you would like me to, or they can be, the answers or responses to those can be seen in the minutes of that meeting. Is that?
I don't think it's necessary to go through them all now. As you pointed out, they are there, and if once we get on, we'll come round to any further questions this evening. Thank you.
Oh, okay, cool. So, yeah, there were a number of questions there. We've also had some questions prior to tonight's meeting. One from Councillor Michaels regarding can we plant 2 trees for every one that is felled? I think our thoughts on this are that there are a number of sort of factors we need to consider when we're considering replacement planting. In some situations we are felling trees in the knowledge that they'll regrow from the stump. A lot of native trees will do that. So perhaps in scenarios like that we may not need to replant. In some other situations we may have trees that cause them damage and we may not be able to replant, or there may not be space for 2 trees in the same location where one has been removed. Also, we have the consideration that certainly standard trees, the larger trees that we might plant that are sort of 2 metres when they're planted, they cost about £400 each roughly to plant. So there would be potentially a financial consideration there if we were to plant more replacements. Having said that, the strategy does have actions about identifying new locations for planting in the district, and we're currently undertaking the biodiversity opportunities audit, which is part of that is designed to look at our more minor open spaces and where we can plant new trees. So and typically that might be smaller trees, some bare root whips as we call them, which the council already plants several hundred of those in a year and as part of its sort of management of its open spaces. So we are actively planting at least 2 to 1 and probably considerably more in some years depending on what works we're doing. So there will be a large number of trees going back in the ground to offset those that are removed. The other thought we have as well is that we do have natural regeneration in quite a few of our sites, so we have new trees springing up naturally without sort of human intervention, as it were. So we are recruiting new trees in the district through that as well. So there's a number of things to think about there in terms of whether that would be something to undertake. We also had another question from Councillor Morris, and again I've responded to those by email, and we can include those in the minutes if councillors are happy to do that. Is that Chair? Yeah.
Agreed, I think, everybody. Yeah.
So that's my report. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. Has anybody got any questions?
I will try and be
Brief, Chairman. Apologies, I've been all day meeting at the county, so I couldn't give you the questions in advance. So my first question, and I'm sure we've got it covered, is obviously we're not the only people who own woodland in the district. Is our strategy, this is a high-level one, is it aimed just at our woodland, or are we also wanting to enter into dialogue and encourage the Woodland Trust to pick up on some of the points? And I'm assuming, and this is linked, we will be getting other owners of woodlands to comment on our strategy, like the Woodlands Trust. Obviously, Whitlandale Woods, which is managed by Watford, and they have their own management plans, so I'm not proposing that we'd want to change it, but they might want to comment on our strategy. And I couldn't see, and apologies if I've missed it, Chairman, where it says who we're going to consult. Thanks. That was one question from Councillor Morris. And there will be, we can send out a list of consultees, of people we've previously consulted, and if members have any more contacts they would like us to include, then please do let us know. You answer the first part of the question. Is it geared just at our woodlands, or are we trying to have a strategy which is other people could buy into if they wanted to? Because obviously we can't mandate them to, but are we willing to enter into that sort of dialogue? It is primarily directed at our woodlands and our trees that we own. We also have that role as the local planning authority in terms of protected trees. So owners of protected woodlands, protected trees will need to apply to us if they wish to undertake works. We also are consulted by the Forestry Commission when owners of privately owned woodlands in the district, when they are woodlands that are protected and privately owned, if they are doing forestry work, the Forestry Commission do consult us on those works. And we have meetings with the landowners to discuss the management and to agree the works that they're wishing to undertake. One of the other actions we do have in this draft strategy is to potentially recruit a new member of staff who could be a link into the community and talking to other people about management of trees and woodlands and encourage further planting on land that we don't own. So there are things in there about other people.
Thank you very much. That was a great answer, actually. Did I see your hand up, Councillor Tankard?
Having read through the report, my only slight concern is on the action plan where we have investigate arboricultural training and development from member of the ground maintenance team to specialise in tree establishment and early years maintenance. I think from what we talked about and given the motion we passed regarding the scale of trees we want to plant as in size, that has to be a definite if we go forward with this tree. We can't investigate it, we have to establish a definite method of maintenance. I can't see the point in planting 2 trees if both trees are going to die in the same place. So I think maintenance in their first years has to be established. Thank you.
That would definitely be our advice that if we're planting particularly large standard trees that are quite expensive, we need to be able to back that up with the necessary maintenance to ensure that they will establish.
Thank you. Councillor Morris?
Yeah, just following on the maintenance question, the trees in my ward that have been newly planted all have hydration bags which are looked after by the grounds maintenance team. Will that policy apply to other trees planted in the district?
We would certainly look to any standard trees that we plant will have hydration bags or what we call a watering tube, which actually goes in the ground and you can fill it with water. I mean, one of the other elements we put in the strategy is the mulching of newly planted trees, which is placing like a sort of compost bark mulch around the base, which is particularly good at helping keep moisture in and it really helps trees get established. So I think there are a number of things we've got in there about how we maintain newly planted trees so that we can try and get a good level of establishment.
Thank you very much. Have you got any other questions for Mr. Lorry? Councillor Scarth, sorry.
Thank you. It's maybe not quite a question, but I wanted to comment on it's very early in your time with us that you were presented with this huge task, because I don't know how many other districts have as many trees and as many wooded areas. So it was a big job to do. And I'm very pleased that the tree inspections are going to be increased to 18 monthly. So because by natural course of things, we notice a lot more dead and dying trees in the woods near Oxywood, Hailing than Oxywoods. So yeah, it's good there's going to be more regular inspections. So that was my comment. Thank you.
Has anybody got any further questions for Mr. Lorry before we... There's just one thing I noticed, the mulch, there's a guy sitting not very far away from you who has a few bags of it that he might be able to send you away. It's a very cost-effective way of doing it. Yeah, just to note that any comments this evening will be included, and then thank you very much for coming along this evening, Mr. Ryan. Best of luck with it. You have done amazing tasks in the short time you've been here, as has been pointed out, and thank you very much for that.
Do you want us to vote on that?
Does it need a vote?
Say that we're happy for it to...
Oh yeah, if we could all, is everybody happy for it to go forward as it is? If you'd like to raise a hand. Yes, I think that's unanimously carried.
Sorry,
Thank you very
could I
much.
just add with the additional consultees that members notify Mr. Lorry of? I've given him one, but, well, actually...
Yes, if any other members have any, it'd be great, that information would be invaluable to Mr. Norrie and his team. Yeah. Lovely. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time this evening. Yeah, if we'll go back to the minutes now, I think, if that's all right, and to and fro a bit this evening. It's just an amendment to the minutes.
It's asked for
Ms. Rolton.
the addition at the
You
end.
see it on one screen.
I know it's broken, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was told it was working, but it's cut out.
Would we be able to read it then?
Do you want me to read it out to you?
I must confess, they can probably read it, but I certainly can't.
So shall I read it out to you?
Yes, please.
Yeah. At the end of Leisure, Environment and Community Committee, Councillor Seaborn thanked everyone. He said not all council meetings were enjoyable, but this one had been pleasant to chair and really enjoyable, with so many achievements to talk about and to set targets for future meetings, and thanked members for their input. Councillor Duncan thanked Councillor Seaborn for doing a great job chairing the meeting and how they all appreciated how good the meeting was and members were all nice to each other. Councillor Seaborn went on to say that there was nothing wrong with disagreement as long as it was polite, and it was a bonus when they all agreed, and thanked everyone again and wished them a pleasant evening. And he asked for the addition of that to the minutes.
Thank you. Are there any objections to that? As I remember it, that's pretty much how it was, wasn't it? So can we amend the minutes to show that? Anybody disagree with that?
Yeah, all council meetings are enjoyable.
Aren't they just? Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. Thank you.
No, I know.
Thank you. Now, moving on to item number 6 this evening is the report on the BW Foundation, Woodcock Hill Cemetery. I'll pass you over to Jane LaRue this evening.
Thank you, Chair. So this was a report that was requested by this committee in the January meeting. The report is informative only, no recommendations are made. I don't propose to go through it at any great length. Two specific issues were dealt with by the report. The first was BW Foundation's policy that operated, burials policy that operated during March and June, pursuant to which unrelated individuals were buried in separate tiers of the same grave space. The second issue are deeds of grant of exclusive rights of burial. The report takes us through some background about BW Foundation, their involvement with Woodcock Hill Cemetery, details of their leases and the grant of exclusive rights of burial to BW Foundation, how they administer their burials, and then in particular at page 9 of the report, starting at paragraph 45, there's some information about the two-tier burials policy. At page 16, starting at paragraph 61, there's information about their current policy, and at page 17, starting at paragraph 66, there's information set out about the proposal to transfer the deeds of grant of exclusive rights to burials to families. I'm afraid that I'm not able to answer the question about precisely when that will happen, because that's legal work that's ongoing, but it is happening. I don't propose to say anything more about the report, but I'm very happy to answer any questions about it or any clarifications.
Thank you very much. I think that before you take questions, if we have a couple, there's two members of the public that would like to speak this evening who might raise some more points that need answering. Would you mind if we took those first? Shall we have the public speak now? So, first of all, we've got Mr. Mekhici. Get yourself sorted out over there. I'd just like to point out, Mr. Mekhici, that generally speaking, people are not allowed to speak twice on the same subject, but I am conscious of the time passage since you last spoke. So as an act of grace, you're more than welcome to speak this evening. Yeah. It's 3 minutes, as you're aware, and Ms. Rolton will give you a warning 30 seconds before that 3 minutes is up.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman.
Is your microphone working? Can everybody hear me?
Can you hear me? Yes, fine. Thank you. Okay. Good evening. While I'm grateful for the report, it is ultimately disappointing as it sidesteps the practical cause of discrimination and lacks clear next actions. My main criticism of the whole arrangement is that the Council, which is a public authority subject to the Public Sector Equality Duty, has appointed a non-public authority to do the work of managing a section of a local authority cemetery. The issues are as follows. The Muslim families have not been treated the same as the non-Muslims. There continues to be a risk of divergence between the policies and practices of the Muslim and non-Muslim areas, not justifiable related to matters of faith. In being confronted with such policies and procedures, Muslim families have little or no protection under the Articles 8 and 9 of the Human Rights Act and Section 13 and 19 of the Equalities Act 2010, while the non-Muslims have full protection. Over 700 Muslim families are affected by the current arrangements. If you are wondering why no other residents have reached out to you, it's because only around 5% of the people buried in the Muslim sections are residents of Three Rivers District. Non-residents pay 2.5 times the resident rates. I estimate that over 650 of the 700 graves are of non-residents. So why is it that the very precious grave spaces that were apparently so scarce that unrelated parties needed to be buried together have been knowingly allocated to non-residents by the BWF? It took BWF just 5 days to implement a controversial two-tier burial policy for the Muslims. This is how little regard there is to due process. If you had a chance to review BWF's audited accounts, you would have noticed that in 2017, BWF raised £150,000 in advance for burials. Selling burial plots in advance is against the rules. The exclusive rights of burial that were given to the corporate body, BWF, rather than the individuals, are likely to be null and void under the law. It should not be difficult for the whole scheme to be found to be ineffective and for the grants now to be made to the families who really need those rights.
In conclusion, the only true and fair way forward is the whole of the cemetery is put under the direct control of the council, so that both the Muslims and non-Muslims are treated exactly the same, except where religious distinctions are necessary and justifiable. So I request the councillors, please, first of all, ensure that all the e-road deeds are issued to all the Muslim families within an agreed time frame, and that the council write to all the affected families and let them know how to apply for them. Secondly, to start seeking legal ways to bring back the management of the Muslim sections in the direct control of the council. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Then we have another member of the public that would like to speak this evening, and that's Riaz Ismail. Again, Mr. Ismail, it'll be 3 minutes, and Mr. Alden will give you a 30-second warning as we approach.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening all. My name is Riaz Ismail. I'm a pharmacist working for the NHS and a trustee of BW Foundation, taking the lead on burials at Woodcock Hill Cemetery. The foundation was established in the late 1970s by young Muslim professionals who found that Muslim organizations at the time did not reflect our inclusive worldview. We are gender balanced, we empower the youth, and English is our only language. Membership is open, everyone is welcome equally. In the late 1980s, we leased a plot at Woodcock Hill Cemetery to provide equity of access to all Muslims. Muslim burial plots are often segregated by ethnicity or sect, Sunni or Shia, and if you don't fit, access is denied. We wanted to correct this. We have a long-standing and excellent relationship with officers of TRDC, meeting quarterly. We jointly recognize risks and manage issues. For example, parking became problematic, so BW Foundation provides parking marshals. I mentioned my role in the NHS. I'm heavily involved in the London-wide COVID response, and like many of you, I take my work home with me. For Stanwell Mosque, I redesigned the burial procedure for COVID, and I took the lead in developing BW Foundation's own COVID response to burials. We had to be aware of extra deaths and manage the limited burial space. Contrary to popular understanding, the policy of two-tier burials was not imposed unilaterally, but developed with the full inclusion of families through Stanwell Mosque. We obtained consent for all burials at least 3 times, orally and in writing. Any more insistence would be intrusive to a grieving family who are already facing the pressure of an expedient burial, often in distressing circumstances. Finally, to the litigation and its consequences, the judgment is before you. The judge was critical of material non-disclosure by the litigant and their unfounded vitriolic attack on BW Foundation. A series of false accusations against us followed after the judgment, including that the graves were not facing Mecca, that trustees had reserved their own spaces in advance, and we had imposed our own access restrictions under COVID. The list goes on. The most disturbing is a campaign to families saying BW Foundation would arrange subsequent burials in their grave space without notice unless families had an EROB. This led to fear, dread, and uncertainty in the community, which is still prevalent. The worst part is that one of Three Rivers' own councillors wrongly reinforces this fear. Your own officers will confirm that issuing EROBs to families is a procedural matter which is nearing completion. There seems to be no immediate end to these false accusations. Today, I assure TRDC that we have always acted in best faith and in the best interest of the whole community that we jointly serve, and that of our continued full cooperation with Three Rivers. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you both for speaking so eloquently.
I can pick up, sorry.
On two points. The first is that the council has undertaken to consider applications from all of those who wish to hold deeds and are who eligible to do so. We can't undertake to simply blanket force things on people that don't necessarily want them. In relation to management of the cemetery, can I make quite clear that the council are the burial authority. We are under a statutory duty and we have statutory powers. Those powers are to do all such things as they consider necessary or desirable for the proper management, control and regulation of the cemetery. The council do maintain a general power of management and can't step away from that. Is there anything else anybody would like to raise?
Have any of the members this evening got any questions on the report that's been delivered? Councillor Lloyd.
It's not a question.
You're not on.
Can you hear me, Chairman? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me, Chair? I do. Is the microphone off over there? Keeps on going up. Can you? Work has gone here. I know that Councillor Singleton would like to have been here because he was one of those who particularly requested a detailed report which you have provided, and I'd like to thank you for that and all the time that has gone into it. It must have been hours and hours, so we as a committee do appreciate that, and I would want that to be noted, Chairman, if that is okay. I know that Councillor Seaborn was of the same view, but at this point I've got nothing else to say. I will listen to what other members have to say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for that, Councillor Lloyd. You're right, there was a lot of work gone into this, and we must thank officers for that. Has anybody else got any questions this evening? Or notes or anything else that we'd like to bring up? Councillor Hayward.
I'd just also like to thank both speakers. Obviously there is concern on both sides, and I'm pleased that the legal department are leading with this now, and I don't think it's appropriate for us to say anything more, and hope that it all gets resolved to everybody's satisfaction.
Thank you very much. I think we can all echo those sentiments. Thank you. Right, well, thank you very much. Again, thank you very much for coming down this evening. And we'll be moving on to the next item, which is the work programme. Mr. Clark, is it? It's me, is it? We're going to note the work programme. Where are we? Councillor Lloyd.
Yeah, I'd like to do slightly more than note it, because unless it's changed since I last looked, I couldn't see any items for our next meeting, and I'd also like to consider us pulling some items forward from November to October. I've been in meetings all day, so I haven't checked whether the requests I made have been done.
Yes, I spoke with Officer Zeller. I'll pass you over to Sherry, Miss Rawton, who's got more information.
Can we just quickly put the work programme on, and are we saying at this point, if nothing urgent came up, we wouldn't be planning to meet in August?
Yes, that is correct, unless there's anything comes up in the next, as you say, urgently, then in the August meeting will be...
Isn't it? That's it, brilliant.
Put off. Why are you here?
Yep. I wanted to go down to the bottom.
And I believe a couple of items are coming forward from November to the October committee.
That's what I was wanting to check.
Being agreed to bring agreed to bring forward the Citizens Advice Report and the biannual update of the Climate and Emergency Sustainability Strategy to October. And the biannual report will be October and March.
Thank you very much. That's picked up on both the points I made, and apologies, Chairman, I just haven't had time to check the website today. So thank you. With that, I'm happy to propose the work programme as it has been amended before the meeting, so thank you.
Thank you. Can someone second that if we're proposing? Thank you very much, Councillor Scarth. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you very much. There is... That's it, isn't it? There is no other business this evening, so we'll draw this meeting... Sorry?
Not here.
Thank you all very much for agreeing to come down a little bit earlier. I think it made sense really, didn't it? And I hope you enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you.
We're going to have a dinner.
Sorry about that.
That's fine,
That's the one, I knew I'd forget one thing.
Chris told me about that earlier.
I've had it already, I've just been concentrating all day on other things. It's all done. We got through it. And you'll get to see your football.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I don't know what I was doing wrong. Thank you, Phil.
There you are.
Here we have 4 different people to scrutinise today.
Just leave it to you guys.
It's all right.
Yeah, was it 6:30?